It's the story that all of you little pigs were oinking for, the Maddie Gaetz saga. Oh man, we've been sitting on this one, because Thomas Frank was just spitting so much good stuff that we decided to hold the Maddie Gaetz saga for Monday's episode, because man, oh man, there is a lot of stuff to talk about here.
Yeah, so I think everyone loved the Thomas Frank episode. You guys did a great job. Everyone loved it. But this is special. Like, we really had to prepare for this, and this is where you come to for the fully unauthorized, exhaustive, unabridged defense of Matt Gaetz' behavior from the left.
I don't even know where to begin with this one. I mean, obviously, this all started when the New York Times wrote an article about allegations that he has been engaging in a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old girl that he has been paying to travel across state lines, which is technically human trafficking. But I don't know, just the thing I can't get out of my head about this is, Felix, something you said to me yesterday about Matt Gaetz as a politician and a personality, that 70% deserves to be executed, but 30% deserves to be president of the United States.
Yeah, because vast majority should go to prison and be beheaded, but he's also so many people in America are just like him. This, I'm pretty sure people know the broad strokes of the case. The thing about blackmailing, right? The Iran.
We'll get into the many strands of
but
this
he's
case
he's exactly as stupid and disgusting and weird and gross as only a type of American can be. Not to say that we're the grossest people, but a French person would be disgusting in a different way.
There's something about we can talk about the Harry Potter-based sex game that he played with fellow Florida state representatives. We can talk about the Bitcoin mining rig that burned down a public building because of the Seminole County tax collector, who's also a child pornographer and human trafficker, who's the investigation into him is what uncovered Matt Gaetz' relationship with this teenager in the first place. We could talk about the fact that he grew up in the house that the Truman Show was filmed in. It goes on and on with this guy. But is never before in political scandals has there been one that's been less surprising?
Yeah, no, that guy's he literally looks like fucking Quagmire from Family Guy. He is a human version of the cartoon known for being a pervert.
Yeah, and also he has 70,000 tweets from a year or two ago where it's I think it's cool to fuck high schoolers. Almost directly that.
It was
there are just so
it was
many
a quote tweeted. It was somewhere
when I was just briefly reading on him the other day, and everyone knows he voted against the human trafficking bill, but he also in 2015 when he was in the Florida House was the only vote against making revenge porn illegal.
Jesus Christ. No, the one everyone saw was the tweet was you can be sexy at any age, which first of all, no.
Not true. No. Absolutely untrue.
And then he quote retweeted a piece saying, this should be the official motto of the state of Florida. That's the other thing to this is that Florida as a state and as a state of mind figures very largely in this story as well. Because, it's hard to imagine. Matt Gaetz could not have come out of any place other than Florida.
I think there's, equivalents to Matt Gaetz, in every state, who would do something as stupid and awful and just be as emblematic of their state, but it's in different ways. But he is, he should at least be a senator now. He's for Florida. If, you're going to have senators from that place, it should be, he's earned it.
Yeah, one of their senators now is a guy who was the largest ever Medicare fraudster. That makes sense, as would Gaetz.
Yeah, no, that's who it is. A completely hairless, demon creature, and then the dumbest man alive.
And then also, just another thing, he just got engaged to a woman named Ginger Lucky. And where has Nestor been in all of this? Where is
I would
Nestor?
like to hear from Nestor.
Because, I think, obviously, we all thought when the Nestor story broke, it was, that was going in a different direction in terms of, human trafficking and his predilections, shall we say. But now I think it's sort of the Nestor thing is, I think he adopted like a cool 19-year-old so that he could hook up with high school girls. I think it was like his way for him to meet young women, or underage women.
That's the thing. It's sort of like the opposite of the Paddock thing. I was thinking about the Paddock thing with because we just did that TrueAnon, where we researched Paddock endlessly and all the connections, and the analogy Brace made was that it's like a cup with 1 inch of every type of soda, where it just, there's all these hints at something, but not enough for you to fully dive in. Like there's the defense contracting thing, there's the multiple shooters thing, but it's not enough for you to fully go in one direction. So it drives you insane no matter how much you know. But this is the opposite. This is like 8 full cups of soda. You can go so far in every direction with this, and it's all there. He's doing all of it.
Well, I think the place to begin is what really kicked this off as just an unbelievable news spectacle is Matt Gaetz's appearance on Tucker Carlson's show the other week, and I just want to go through a couple clips of what might be the greatest TV news interview of all time. So let's cue up that first Tucker Carlson Matt Gaetz clip.
Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. So this is obviously a serious allegation. Tell us what the truth is from your perspective.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie. The New York Times is running a story that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman, and that is verifiably false. People can look at my travel records and see that that is not the case. What is happening is an extortion of me and my family involving a former Department of Justice official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did
Okay, all
with
right.
the former Department of Justice official.
Okay, can I say what I think happened?
Go for it.
So the guy was like, you have to give me $25 million so like we can pardon this guy, we can get this guy out of Iran, and then if you do it, we'll get it so Biden pardons you for having sex with a 17-year-old. But what I think happened is the guy was like, told him all this, and Gaetz was like, oh my God, I'm so behind. I need to sleep with the 17-year-old to get this rolling.
Yeah,
and then he did it, and then he was like, all right, now I'm being extorted.
So some background on the extortion plot that he's talking about here. It says, Matt Gaetz, this is from the Washington Post here. Matt Gaetz, a Florida Republican known for his fierce allegiance to former President Donald Trump, had been under Justice Department investigation for months for a possible sex crime when 2 men approached his father with a proposal. The men had learned of the investigation, they wrote to Don Gaetz, and wanted to offer an opportunity to help his son. He could give a huge sum of money to fund their effort to locate Robert A. Levinson, the longest held American hostage in Iran, whose family had said that they were told he is dead. If the operation were a success, he would win public favor and help alleviate Matt Gaetz's legal woes. The men who approached Don Gaetz, people familiar with the matter said, had no apparent connection to the sex crime investigations of his son, other than having somehow learned about it before it was publicly reported. But when news of law enforcement's interest in Gaetz surfaced, the congressman asserted that the allegation was rooted in an extortion effort against my family for $25 million. So yeah, I think Felix. So these guys come to him and they're like, "Listen, you help us rescue a dead man from Iran, and we won't blow the whistle on you having sex with a 17-year-old girl." And then Matt Gaetz was just like, "You fool. Do you honestly think I would let you in on my master plan without having already done it? I had sex with a 17-year-old girl 30 minutes ago." Yeah. How can you be extorting me for a crime I've already committed? And I also like that the detail about like somehow they had knowledge of this investigation before it was made public. I mean, I think they had knowledge of it just because they're from Florida and know Matt Gaetz.
No, yeah, I don't think like it took any special insight to divine what was going on.
I also really like right off the get-go from that Tucker interview, where like, you could not pick a softer interview from Matt Gaetz than Tucker Carlson, who's like, like setting him up to be like, oh, like, how is the liberal media persecuting you this time, Matt? And his answer to the question was like, let's just say very legally worded. in that he's just like, I have never traveled anywhere with a 17-year-old. You can check my travel schedule. But, he didn't say I have never had sex with a 17-year-old or had been in a sexual relationship with someone underage in an illegal. I've never been in an illegal sex. And also, isn't the case that he was paying her to travel and that he wasn't traveling with her? He was just paying for her to come to where he was to have sex with her.
Yeah, it was like a T-ball, and he went to swing, and his pants fell down, and the ball like went up his urethra somehow.
Oh man. And then, like, just the Iran hostage thing is such a funny, and then his dad wearing a wire. It's like, Felix, you also feel like this is just like the best kind of conspiracy, criminal or otherwise, is one in which every single person involved has like 70 IQ.
I mean, this is what a lot of history is. Just the dumbest person from 5 different families working together to do. I don't even think they know what they're doing. It's just like, why does an ant build a little hill out of dirt? Why is that bee flying around pollinating the flowers? They don't really know. They don't have consciousness. And that's everyone in this story. They have no idea why they're doing any of this.
I also love the idea that, like, according to this extortion plot, if he had helped free this guy who's apparently dead, then Joe Biden would pardon him for sex crimes. Like, that doesn't seem like a thing that would happen.
I think it, like, I could, if you brought Joe Biden a corpse, and he's like, I've been looking for this, and you're no longer a pedophile.
All right, cue up that second Tucker clip because it gets better.
And I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like. You know the pain it can bring to your family, and you know how it just puts people on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful. But it did not happen. It is not true.
All right. So just absolutely stitching up Tucker Carlson, referring to something that happened. I'd never heard of this. This was like years ago, and it was like one of his mentally ill viewers believed that they had a sexual relationship and then accused him of impropriety in it. But like, let's just say like those allegations were slightly less founded than the ones being made against Matt Gaetz. But like, I just love the look. First of all, Tucker Carlson always has like an interview face where he looks like a golden retriever. Like a golden retriever where you're like holding a treat above its nose and he's waiting for it to drop or something.
That's how he shows you that he's paying attention.
Yeah, but like he just like he got extra sort of like his mouth, like his little lips and eyes got even more pursed as soon as Matt Gaetz was just like, listen, I'm not the only one on screen here, and the other guy on screen being you, Tucker Carlson, who's been accused of sex crimes against children.
Maybe he was talking about like the news ticker. Someone falsely accused the news ticker of sexual harassment at his job. He was harassing the Fox logo.
I totally condemn the accusations against Cletus the dancing robot.
It could be like maybe like he didn't mean Tucker because like Matt Gaetz just like superimposes cartoon characters in the background of everyone he's talking to. Like Grimace was there. He's like, yeah, I'm going on Grimace and Tucker. That show everyone knows.
All right, let's see the next Tucker clip.
Again, I really saw this as a deeply troubling challenge for my family on March 16th when people were, talking about a minor and that there were pictures of me with child prostitutes.
What's up?
That's obviously false. There would be no such pictures.
No one mentioned that, dude. No one mentioned that.
Really, on March 16th was when this got going from the extortion standpoint.
From the extortion standpoint, but like, yeah,
you think that's bad, but that is an alpha move. You throw more accusations out there to confuse people. It's like Squid Ink. It's advanced.
Yeah, no one had. There's nothing about the pictures or anything, and he's like, the guy in the video doesn't even really look like me. We have the same tattoo and weird jaw, but it's actually not even me, which is what's so crazy about this thing.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he is on some real Yellow King shit. And, like, to the extent that, like, okay, What are we to make of these allegations against someone like Matt Gaetz? Well, I mean, why don't we view them in light of the the lengthy reporting that's been done on the fact that he has, as a legislator in Florida and now in Congress, apparently shares photos of naked women that he has on his phone with fellow congressmen and representatives. He's the kind of guy that likes doing that. And in the best detail of this story is apparently in the Florida state government, him and a bunch of his friends played what was reportedly a Harry Potter themed sex game with each other. And by that I mean that it was like one of this like stupid guy thing where like you score like based on like the number of women you have sex with or like the circumstances in which you have sex with them. And it was like you got points. One of the rating systems for like how many points you would accrue was waking up in a sorority, like fucking Ted Bundy or something.
Yeah.
I have to say, the funniest outcome, like, it would not be like if this is all true. The funniest outcome would be if like he's actually right and he is being framed, and it's like he just did the shittiest job ever. Just like this is how he responded to it.
He's just got a guy who's guilty of so much stuff that like he can't help but look guilty like all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And then so like it was a Harry Potter based sex game that was just based on Quidditch. And like this is the worst part about it because this is like guys who think they're awesome. These guys are like thinking like, oh, like, you know, this is the pussy getting posse. You know, we're the coolest guys ever. And these are all guys in their 30s. In their fucking 30s. And if you're like, if your friends are still impressed by you having sex in your 30s, it's like, it's because none of you have ever had sex before. If you're high-fiving your friends, you're like, guess you got laid last night on my 38th birthday, dude. Woo! And then
that's why they went into politics.
Yeah.
That kind of is. Like, the federal House of Representatives is for people who couldn't have a job anywhere else. The state house is for people who couldn't have sex anywhere else.
Yes. Like even less functional.
Yeah.
But a feature of the Harry Potter, it was based on Quidditch. Like that's how fucking lame these guys are. Like that just in addition to being criminals, this is how fucking lame they are. It was based on Quidditch because apparently there was one woman who was a married a fellow politician in Florida, and it wasn't named. She wasn't named in any of the reporting, thank God. But apparently, if you had sex with her, she was the quote snitch, which means that it would like automatically win the game, no matter how many points anyone else had accrued for themselves. If you betted this one woman, then you won the game. So I mean, like this is the mentality here, and let's another element of the Matt Gaetz story is that this allegation about him and this 17-year-old girl only came to light because of another ongoing investigation into this guy Joel Greenberg, who, like I said, was he was like some sort of tax collector or tax official, tax collector from Seminole County, Florida, with close ties to Matt Gaetz. Just a bit from this story here. This is from Gizmodo. During a 2020 audit of his spending during his time as Seminole County's tax collector, investigators found that Greenberg had prepaid $65,860 to an entity called Government Blockchain Systems, LLC, which his office was the sole member of. When questioned about...
I have to say, you were talking about conspiracy of 70 IQ people. This guy was like, oh, the government can't prosecute me for child porn if I call my company the government. It's part of it. They have to hire me, and then I make double the money.
When questioned about why such an LLC existed in the first place, Greenberg told auditors that he had been creating a new method for his office to, quote, accept cryptocurrency as payments. Yeah, that's a cryptocurrency as payments. So, like, yeah, you heard that rightly. He was trying to figure out a way that you could pay your taxes in Florida in Bitcoin. And like,
so that you could go from having paid like X amount of taxes, and then like 2 weeks later you paid twice as much in taxes. That sounds great. Wonderful idea.
Florida prosecutors are apparently not buying those claims about a new payment system, and on Wednesday filed a second superseding indictment against Greenberg for embezzling $400,000 to purchase cryptocurrency for himself, wire fraud, and bribery. In addition to his first indictment, which included charges of harassment and stalking a political opponent, and his first superseding incident, which included one charge of human trafficking, several charges of aggravated identity theft, and misuse of driver's license info, Greenberg is now facing a total of 33 charges. Another interesting thing to the blockchain LLC is that he built with this money a Bitcoin mining rig that overheated and burned down a government building or caused fire damage to a government building. And I mean, by all accounts, he was using this Bitcoin shit for child pornography and human trafficking.
What? Wait a minute. Bitcoin used for child pornography? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that. The other like funny thing about paying your taxes in Bitcoin is like taxes. If you hide your identity in anything, that's it. You want to be totally anonymous when paying your taxes. You don't want the government.
You don't want the government to know that you're the one paying those taxes.
Yeah.
So they keep asking you for them.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Let's one more Tucker clip, I think.
Again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times. I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme, that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. And I'm just troubled that the lack of any sort of legitimate investigation into me would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But
oh my God, he's trying to get some co-defendants in this trial here.
So, Tucker, we fucked the same girl, remember?
Remember, we were both wearing those goat masks. It was in that chapel underneath the Capitol building.
Tucker, there's a young man that we both know. His name is Amidala, and he's a great one. And remember, we brought that sixth grader to him, and he consumed it and birthed another great one. Do you remember that, Tucker? Tucker, you were at the blood ceremony. Moloch actually called me about this, about what the FBI is doing to me.
Chris, what was the thing about Matt Gaetz' father being involved in some horrible tragedy or like causing one?
Okay, yeah. Gaetz' grandfather, Stanley Jerome Jerry Gaetz, was the mayor of Rugby, North Dakota, and a candidate for lieutenant governor of North Dakota at the 1964 North Dakota Republican State Party convention. And he apparently died of a heart attack during a speech.
He's from my family's been here a long time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, that's why Gaetz should be president. Grandfather dies of a speech during a convention. Dad is like, we're leaving this place. There's a bad energy. We're going to move into the Truman Show house. And then the son is who he is. And that's should serve life in prison while also being a representative figure. Not royal family, but mascot. If you come from another country to not just Florida's 4th House District, but pretty much any of it, it's you get to meet him and take pictures with him, and then he has to go back to his cell, and we have to end the bloodline.
Some more highlights here from Joel Greenberg. I mean, he was a much beloved subject of Central Florida journalism. This is just a collection of headlines about Joel Greenberg that someone collected. Seminole County tax collector accused of impersonating police officer. Tax collector indicted charged with stalking. Feds. Greenberg regularly stole IDs. Seminole tax collector Joel Greenberg accused of soliciting hacker to attack county computers. Seminole tax collector Joel Greenberg asked for professional courtesy after ticketed for speeding. Joel Greenberg resigns as Seminole County tax collector.
He was just getting started. That's bullshit. He was forced out.
Greenberg pleads not guilty to trafficking, accused of using state database to look up minors. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's just fucking like just like it's this guy Cuomo. It's just like everyone who's involved in politics who's a man is like a fucking absolute just like sex freak. These guys should all be chemically castrated if they want to seek office.
Well, why would you run for office now? Like at this point, if you have a brain of any kind, not even a significantly good one, that you're not going to do anything. Like all of the traditional reasons to run for office don't exist. The only reason is to do not even power fantasies, because there's no power there, just like sick performance of power. You're just a little pervert. You have to be.
Yeah, I think like for someone like Joe Biden, you get elected because, you get to do more handshakes, like his favorite part of the whole deal.
Yeah, he just loves going to pancake breakfasts.
Yeah, pancake breakfasts.
You got to take the syrup home sometimes.
Yeah, he loves people like having to listen to him. But yeah, for someone like Matt Gaetz, that's what this is.
I mean, I feel like we've only like scratched the surface of like this guy's life and his life and crimes. But what do you think? Is there anything more here?
I'm looking forward to him being exonerated.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing to say is that must be remembered that he will not go anywhere unless he is actually charged and indicted in some way. He's not going anywhere. He will probably he'll be there in that office till he wants to leave, until he gets killed in some sort of like hot air ballooning with a crocodile accident.
He'll be the first person over the age of like 3 to die by jamming a fork into an electrical outlet.
Or one of those like jet ski accidents where you fall off the back and the jet blows your fucking asshole out of your mouth or something.
Oh yeah, no. However Matt Gaetz dies, he's going to be vaporized.
Oh, 100%.
Like there's like no casket at that funeral. Like he's just going to be a fucking pile of red mist. That's not a guy who has like, dies alone in his bed or surrounded by his family or like, gets shot or something. It's like that's a guy who's like driving an experimental boat.
Yeah, no, he's going to like be doing a TikTok dance into the back of a fan boat and just get dissolved.
Yeah.
I mean,
like that grandfather who had the heart attack at the convention, that's like the last member of the Gaetz family who had like an open casket funeral. It was nothing but ignominious deaths after that.
I guess the last thing I want to say is like the other interesting angle to this is the sort of the like his fellow Trumpists and sort of like the neo-Nazi fucking like the online people have sort of like taken up his case as just like basically defending him by saying even if the allegations are true, he did nothing wrong, because there's nothing wrong with like a 38-year-old man having a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old, because like that's what they did in Europe in the grand old times of Western civilization. And then like when it was that fucking like that little neo-Nazi rat was just like I'm concerned with the real child abuse that's being done by elites. And I was just like, how old do you think Epstein's victims were? Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about here? Or they just keep talking about how like, it's technically not a crime, and it's just like, yeah, like if he was 23 at the time, like there are sliding scales for like the age difference here sort of matters in terms of the law. And the age of consent in Florida is 18, but he was in his 30s apparently when this was happening. It's just like a good percentage of like the online right is obsessed with the idea of like sort of ferreting out degeneracy in other people. And I think to them, degeneracy means having a normal sexual relationship with an adult that's not like paid for in any way. I think that to them is like the most sickening thing that they can imagine. Like that is what true perversion is. Like the guys who have, like child anime avatars who are fucking obsessed with the idea that like gay people are some sort of like irredeemable perverts or something like that.
Well, yeah, a relationship that has like an equivalent power dynamic is no good. It's the Yellow King. They need to be like sexual conquerors, because just like their ancestors.
I mean, that is the weird thing with all of this is like this is exactly like. This is exactly like a Democrat would do this. Like, they all do the same thing, just with, like, different details. Like, with Gaetz, it involves, like, some fucking Bitcoin moron. But with, like, a Democrat, it involves, like, a guy who makes fucking bullshit apps that don't work. It just, they all do the same thing and want the same thing. It just involves, like, different social components. Because, these are all essentially the same people.